toy.
We want it bin.
I have spoken.
Welcome to episode 198 of the Smugglers Galaxy Podcast, your favorite Star Wars podcast for smugglers in the galaxy. This is an episode that Jason has been working on for probably 6 months, trying to get this gentleman on. And without further ado, Jason, I'm going to let you take it because this is your baby. This is a line that you collect. There's two things that when you think of Jason Wasoko, it's Action Fleet, Micro Collect. I still get it wrong.
Micro Machines,
Micro Machines, Action Fleet, and then that fuzzy Kermit, Salacious Crumb. So, Jason, why don't you take it away and introduce this the interview that we just did?
Yes, so we are going to talk to Jim Fong, who was the design director at Galoob during the time of Micro Machines Action Fleet Episode 1. He started there in 1985. He came from Silicon Valley as an industrial designer, and you'll hear the story about how he started at Galoob, the first time he saw Star Wars, some of the titans of Star Wars that he met along the way, and I think those stories were pretty impressive. I really don't want to take too much of the time because we did talk to him for about an hour and 15 minutes. But yeah, so here is our interview with Jim Fong from Galoob, design director. Enjoy.
Okay, yeah. So my background is in industrial design, and I did go to San Jose State. And back in the day, it was all Silicon Valley. It still is, but mostly when you graduate, you end up working in Silicon Valley, designing bezels for computers or designing back then floppy disk drives. People wouldn't know what that is today.
No, they don't. You're talking about
but mostly, Silicon Valley electronics, and so we all graduated, we all ended up in that field. But luckily, I was able to find something that was more aligned with what I like, which is fantasy, science fiction. Ray Harryhausen. I grew up with all those Ray Harryhausen movies.
Yeah.
And so it was really a perfect fit for me to find a job at Galoob. And getting the job at Galoob was really interesting because it was only by freak accident that I got the job. And I've told this story multiple times, but I was reading the San Francisco Chronicle, which is our local newspaper in the city. And the front page said, Mayor Feinstein, Dianne Feinstein, is going to be buying a house in San Francisco in, I forgot where it was, St. Francis or something. Okay, nice. So you read it and you move on. But the next day, the paper says on the front page, well, she may not get the house after all because a wealthy toy maker named David Galoob is planning to buy the same house.
Oh, nice.
So I said, wait a minute, there's a toy maker, a Galoob. I never heard of that. So what I did was I dialed. I think it was 411. That was for information back in the day when they had that. And I said, "Hi, is there such a thing called Galoob Toys or something?" And they said, "Oh yes, here's the phone number." So I called the number, and I explained to the receptionist, "Hi, my name is Jim. Blah blah blah. And are you a toy company?" And she goes, "Oh yes, we're a toy company, and I'll connect you with Dave Kaplinski." And I'm like, "Wow, that was fast!"
Wow.
And so she connected me, and Dave said to me, "Can you come in today?"
Wow.
Wow.
And I said, "I don't think so. I'm not even ready. My portfolio's not ready." But we did make an appointment. I saw him a week or two later, and he pretty much hired me on the spot.
Wow.
So I was at the right place at the right time. And my portfolio is, you have your Silicon Valley work, but the good stuff, the stuff that you're really passionate about is the science fiction, the spaceships, the monsters, the creatures. So that was my, I sort of accidentally landed into this position just by reading the newspaper. So that was a lot of fun, and I was there for, I don't know. I was the first designer they hired. Dave was the VP of design, and I was the first one they hired. And I was there till the very end when they shut down the whole enterprise.
Wow.
So, so I was there from day one to the end of day.
That's amazing. Do you remember what your first project you worked on at Galoob was?
Yeah. It's interesting too, because when I first interviewed at Galoob, I went into a warehouse. That was where it was at 400 Forbes Boulevard in South San Francisco, and it was a warehouse. And I walked in there, and there was nothing in there. There was just an empty building, and I go, this can't be right. But I found out that the real company, the real headquarters, was down the block.
Okay. So what was the warehouse?
Was in an empty warehouse. The first project I worked on was a vehicle project called Giant, and this is the one where they had multiple wheels and was able to crawl over obstacles. So I was styling that, and that was a lot of fun. And so that was my first project, and it was a fun project too. Almost every project that came out of there was a lot of fun, and I had a blast. And I did not. I would go home around 11, 12, midnight. And the reason was that I didn't want to go home.
You're having too much fun at work.
Well, again, I worked in Silicon Valley. So the kind of work you do is Silicon Valley related, designing computer bezels or computers or whatever. And to be able to have someone tell you, oh, we need spaceships, or we need creatures, or we need this or that, big vehicles with big tires. And it was like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
It was just the perfect fit for me personally. And I love working with the people. It was just fantastic.
So my timeline is a little messed up, so maybe you can help clarify. Did you work on Star Trek Next Generation before Micro Machines? Do you remember?
Micro Machines, I think, came in 85, 86 or 87, 80. I can't remember.
Okay.
But I was there when they brought in the Micro Machines.
Okay.
And the Micro Machines, and I remember being in the meeting in which they had these tiny little cars.
Yeah.
And it was,
Yep.
tiny little cars.
Wow.
And I looked at it and I go, wow, this is really fun. And so the Micro Machines came first, and they were mostly cars. Yep. And everything else came after the fact. Like the Star Wars stuff didn't come until 90.
It's about 93, 94.
Yeah, something like that. And so, but the original Micro Machines came as cars. And in fact, I think prior to the Micro Machines, there was a product called Skeeters from Ideal Toys, and they were their Micro Machines back in the day.
Yeah.
And I think the Micro Machines were the next generation after Skeeters. Okay. So that was it was a lot of fun doing the Micro Machines. I had a blast doing that too. We all did.
So it was your job to design different vehicles? Because there was a whole lot of, there was vehicles, there was airplanes, there was military, there was ocean.
Right. And when you say design, that's, I don't want to say design, because these cars are already designed. If we want to do a Camaro, well, that's the Camaro from General Motors, Chevrolet. So we're not really designing it from scratch per se. The car already is out there. People are driving it and whatnot. And all we have to do is shrink it down to size. So and of course, the proportions change. It looks a little bit more cartoony. Mm-hmm. But what we did do a lot of were the play sets for the cars. and that in itself was a lot of fun. It's yeah. I mean, I worked on the pocket playsets, the Micro Machines pocket playsets.
Are those the ones that unfold?
Yes, and
Yes.
in fact, I have a story about that because I was working obviously with David Galoob and Saul Jodell, and I was tasked from Saul to design this thing that you could open up and put in your pocket, or put everything back in and put in your pocket, and you
Yeah.
can go to your friend's house to open it up and set up your playset with your friends. And so 12 designs. There were 12 designs, and Bill Bowes, who was my partner in crime there, asked Bill to help me design, I don't know, 2 or 3 of them, and the whole thing was done in 3 weeks.
Wow.
I know I worked on it for 3 weeks straight, and that's not a problem because I was having too much fun.
Yeah.
But the presentation itself was interesting because I did these drawings, and I met with Saul in the conference room in the warehouse,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember, I mean, basically it's a warehouse, and it was just a desk in his office. That's not even his office; it was just a meeting room. So I placed the 12 drawings. There was nothing for me to stick on the wall, but I just put on the floor 12 drawings, and I said, Saul, these are 12 designs I'm presenting to you, and he looked at it and he said, well, that's 12. That's a lot of plastic. There's a lot of tooling involved and whatnot.
Yep.
And I said to him, well, if you only do half of that, or 9, it's not going to look like a city because you only have a few blocks. He goes, okay, let's do 12. And that was it.
Nice.
I mean, that was how efficient it was back in the day.
That was like my gateway into Micro Machines. My brother and I was about 7 or 8 at that time, and we would buy the Micro Machines and we would get those play sets, the pocket ones that you were talking about. The cool thing about that was those can connect. There was bridges, and you can connect them together. So my brother can get a set, I can get a set, and we put them together, and we'd be playing with our Micro Machines. I also remember the transforming play sets. There was a gas can, a spark plug,
right,
can of wax. Were you involved with those?
Right. Tony Mondini, the other designer, designed those, and it was, he's an extremely talented designer, and the stuff back then we had drafting tables, not CAD, but I would go to his drafting table, look at his work. I go, wow, that looks really cool. I love this, and it was great. And the funny thing about the pocket play sets too, is that there's a suburban house in that playset. That's actually my house.
Wow. Well, I was good. That's good to know, because I was going to ask about some of it, because there's some Easter eggs. You have some Easter eggs in the Micro Machine stuff too, and that's funny.
Yeah, and it's also the fish and chips. I like fried fish. And so instead of a hamburger drive-through, like, I want to do a fish and chips. And I think Lori Von Ruden and we went. I think she was marketing or product manager. I forgot what it was, but she goes, "But Jim, nobody likes. No, we're in America. We don't like fish. No, people aren't. Fish and chips is not a thing." I go, well, I like it. So we went ahead with fish and chips anyway. And then Bill, who designed the rock quarry, if you look at the label that he did, it says JM. I think this says JM Quarry or something like that. But you read the negative space, it's actually JIM, Jim.
Nice.
So, we're doing all kinds of fun, silly things, Easter eggs that we kind of pack in there, and there were a lot more when we got to Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about that, because it was in the early 90s. Hasbro dropped the ball. They had an exclusive, what I'm trying to say, Glenn, the exclusive ability to
an exclusive deal or
Yeah, to make Star Wars figures, and they were supposed to send $10,000 every year to Lucasfilm, and one year they forgot, which opened things up for companies like Galoob and Bendham's to take over the line. What was that like to be offered the opportunity to make Star Wars toys?
Well, that was a shock,
Yeah.
and in a good way, because when I saw Star Wars when I was in college, and I saw that movie free before the movie opened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I still have the invitation, and I had Ralph McQuarrie sign it for me.
Oh, wow.
my.
This story
Yeah.
gets better and better.
Well, I Ralph is a personal friend of mine, or was a personal friend of mine.
Oh, wow.
But that's how I see. By going through Galoob, it was a gateway to meet all sorts of people, and what happened was with Ralph. I started at Galoob, and I'm working late one evening. One of the art directors, Jim Kelly, and he and I, we were talking, and we were talking about people, art that we love, movies that we love, and I said, "Oh, I love Ralph McQuarrie's art, and his work on Star Wars is incredible." And Jim goes, "Oh, I know Ralph." I go, "What? You know Ralph?" He goes, "You want to meet him?" I go, "Of course." so he, we met at his house, and we had lunch, and I was just speechless because well, he's like a god,
Yeah.
And he was very nice, very shy, and we didn't say much to each other. But little by little, I started to know him, and got to know him a lot more. And I would drive to his house on a Saturday. We have lunch, and we'll at times have. I spent a lot of time at his house for Christmas, Thanksgiving dinner. But yeah, I mean, so going back to seeing Star Wars, I was back in college, and in my graphic design class, and one of my classmates, Ronnie, he came up to me. He goes, "Hey, Jim, do you want to see a free science fiction movie?" I guess. I mean, I don't know what it is. He gave me this 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it says, "You are invited to see this movie at North Point Theater at 10 o'clock Saturday morning, blah, blah, blah. Call this number." And I looked at it, and I never, it's a Star Wars on there or something, I forgot. And I said, I guess. So I took it, and I showed it to my roommates. And my first thought was, Saturday morning, San Francisco, it's too early. I'm in bed,
Yeah.
But my roommate says, "Hey, Jim, come to my house. We'll have free food. My mom will cook breakfast. Then we can go to San Francisco and see a free movie." And I said, "Well, it's free. You're driving, so why not?" So we went there, and I had no idea what to expect. None of us did. And when before the movie started, Gary Kurtz came out, and he said, "Hey, thank you for coming. Saturday morning, early in the morning. It's foggy outside. You ought to be in bed and all that. But no, after the movie's over, please do not leave. We want to hand out a little flyer to you, a little survey, and tell us what you liked and what you did not like about the movie." So we didn't, okay, fine. And the lights dropped, and 20th Century Fox, and then the music just kicked in, and it woke everybody up. It woke me up, and I didn't know what to expect. And when that spaceship, the Star Destroyer, went overhead, my jaw just dropped because I could not believe what I was watching. It was that amazing to me. So when we got the license, it was like, oh my goodness, this is a dream come true. This is incredible that we now have the opportunity to work on this property, and that was just like the perfect project, and I jumped into it with gusto and had so much fun. And of course, we had presentations at the ranch, Skywalker Ranch, every Friday, meetings and whatnot, and it was a lot of fun going there as well, even though it was quite a drive going to Nicasio. But it got to a point where it was routine, and so it was always a pleasant experience to drive up there and enjoy the scenery, enjoy the ranch. I had a chance to take my family up there, and my son was very young at that time. And instead of looking at the Indiana whip, in the display, he was just running around the whole place chasing after crickets and animals and whatnot. So he didn't understand, what it was. Yeah, he was too young.
So you've met Ralph McQuarrie and Gary Kurtz. Have you ever crossed paths with Mr. Lucas? I know you've met Doug Chang too, which we'll get to in a little bit. But did you ever meet Mr. Lucas?
He was. The times I saw him, I did not talk to him.
Okay.
I saw him mostly at Ralph's funeral. He was next to me in the food line, but you're not going to say anything to him.
No, it's not the time for that.
Yeah. But yeah, I did meet with Doug, but I met with Doug before Star Wars because a friend of mine had worked. He was doing some freelance work at Galoob, and he also ended up working at ILM, and he would invite me to screenings with the IOM crew. Free movies,
It's hard to turn down free, right?
I go, hey, but anyway, so Benton Jew was his name. Benton invited me up there for a screening. I forgot which movie it was. Maybe it was, I don't know. I saw a number of them, but he goes, hey, we want to meet Doug, and I said, sure, why not? So I met Doug up there. He's very nice, and then once we got the license, then our connection became a lot closer as well. And that's, it got to a point where I met a lot of the people in the art department as well as the model shop, because I myself enjoy building models. And sometimes I would, just leave the ranch and stop at IOM, have lunch with the guys, or knock on the back door. Say, hey, open up, They open up the door. Hey, Jim, hey, Chris, go in and chit chat and go to lunch. So it became a lot, more familiar. I became a lot more familiar with those people.
Yeah.
Very talented people, and I still stay in touch with a few of them. I still stay in touch with Steve Gawley quite a bit, John Goodson, and so on and so on. So what was great about that Galoob job was it opened, like I said, it was a gateway to open up a lot of opportunities for me to meet all my heroes.
Yeah.
And also sometimes when I'm building a model for myself and I'm not sure what, how am I going to solve this problem? I would contact them. They go, oh yeah, do it this way. And they'll give me pointers so I could build my model so it looks nice.
Geez. It's so amazing. So let's go back to Micro Machines for a little bit in Star Wars. The initial run was three packs with the vehicles themselves. What was your involvement in the initial development of the line?
The initial development was to make the obvious vehicles, and of course, X-wing, Y-wing, Falcon, TIE Fighter, Star Destroyer, the usual suspects. And at that point, we did not have playsets. It was just
right
vehicles. But little by little, the sales were very positive, and people loved it. And so we kept expanding the line. And I think Lucasfilm was aware that, hey, this is making money, and people love the product. And so we expanded into play sets and whatnot, and that's where I was more involved in that, because again, they're doing X-wing. It's like doing a Chevrolet Camaro. This is what it looks like.
Yeah,
you're not going to design your own X-wing because it's already done. So we just needed to bring it down to this size, and so. But then, what kind of opportunities are there for the Micro Machine play sets? And that's when the play sets right behind you came to be. Yeah. At that time, I was is Starlog magazine still around?
Yeah, I believe so.
So I remember reading that from the back of Starlog, there was these Star Trek heads, and I think they were about yay big. I can't remember, but I go, oh, those hats are pretty cool. So what would happen if I, take these heads and turn them to play sets?
Mhm.
And that's where those heads came to be. And I think we did C-3PO, R2, and Vader. I think those are the first three, if I recall.
If I remember right, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I remember when I was drawing the concept sketch for it, I mean, sometimes you get into the groove, the zone, whatever you want to call it. It just felt right. It just was flowing. I suppose maybe it's like, a basketball player they have a hot hand that evening, and everything goes right in, no problem. And I think that was certainly the case when I was designing these these play sets for Star Wars. It just felt right. The way things open, the mechanism, what I can put into the features I can put into the play features. It just felt right. It came together just like that. And maybe it's the project, because I was so happy to work on that project. I was in a great mood, and I knew the material quite well. And I also know that the material was foreign to a lot of people. I'll give you an example. You have to photograph some of the products for your trade show publications, and whatnot. And sometimes some photographer might take the Millennium Falcon and have it backwards because they don't know what's front and what's back. And that happens.
Yeah, it's foreign to them, like you said.
Yeah, so they always, would say, Jim, is this correct? Yeah, this is correct. It's going this way, that kind of a thing. But for me to have worked on those play sets, it was just it felt right, and I'm really happy with them. I'm still happy with them, and I'm glad that people are still trading them on eBay, buying them on eBay, and collecting them, and it makes me feel good because I do remember going to one of our local toy stores here in San Mateo, and I saw this boy. He was maybe 7 or 8, and he was standing in front of the stuff that I worked on. He was looking at it. Of course, you're going like, oh, was he going to buy?
Yeah.
So he's standing there looking at it. So of course I stand next to him, pretending like I'm looking at stuff, and I just want to see what he ended up with. And then he calls his mom over. Hey, look, Mom, this is the Star Wars, and they end up buying 2 of the 3.
Nice.
And I'm going, yes, that's great.
It's got a
last. It was always fun to see the end result of your labor. And the end user, the kid who's going to play with it, or the adult who's going to collect it. But I'm just glad that people bought it.
Yeah, they're great because they're very toyetic. It's great that you could fold it up and put things away, put on the shelf, and then you've got your heroes, Darth Vader, the Emperor's Guard, Boba Fett on the shelf. But then you could pull it out, and you're like basically peeling open adventure, which is something I liked.
Right, exactly. And it was just a fun job for me. And in fact, on the C-3PO, if you look at the C-3PO playset, if you look at the label, I painted the label. I did the artwork for the label.
Oh, of the aliens?
Well, yes, the aliens, the ones that were heating up the footpad and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you look carefully, I'm in it.
Oh, are you?
Well, there's one piece of art that the face looks out of place. And the reason why it looks out of place is because I took a photograph of myself. I shrunk the thing down. I just pasted onto the label.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna have to take a closer look at this afterwards. I'm looking at it right now. Like, which one is it?
I have a cone hat, a tall hat, I think.
Cone hat?
A tall hat.
Yeah. I'll have to look at this later, but that's awesome.
It doesn't look like a painting because it's not. It's just a photograph of my head,
Oh.
of my face.
Oh,
And
is it
thank
Java?
you
Was it
for
Java or
wearing
the
your
Cantina?
shirt. Huh?
Yeah. I'm sporting some Galoob merch. Was it the Cantina or was it Java's Palace? Do you remember? Because let's see.
With my face.
There it is. Okay, so it's R2D2. It's Java's Palace.
Jabba's Palace. I'm sorry. Yes, it was
Yeah,
Jabba's
yeah, I
Palace.
see you. Okay, yeah. I was looking at all the aliens. I'm like, no, they don't look
Yeah.
familiar. But there you are. There's one of the Easter eggs I didn't even know about. There you are. You're in the corner.
You know, there's another Easter egg when we got to Action Fleet.
Yep, it's
Um,
the Yavin playset.
No. Well, yeah,
No,
the Yavin as well. That's obvious.
that
That's
one's
too
obvious.
obvious. But there's a Millennium Falcon Action Fleet vehicle, which is about yay size.
Yeah.
But on some of them, not all of them, if you open it up, you got to unscrew it, of course. There is a little dedication that's engraved into the plastic. And I don't remember exactly what it says, but it's certainly it's for my son and all the fans who have purchased the Galoob items.
Jason's gonna go find a screwdriver right now.
Well, I've been looking for one, but I've been flipping up the back. I didn't realize it might be inside the piece itself.
It's inside. You have to unscrew it. And I got the idea from when Steve Jobs created his first computer or something like that. He had everybody's name engraved at the inside.
Yeah,
you have to open everything up to see it, but it certainly is there. So that was a lot of fun to do. And I remember when I asked we had a Hong Kong office,
mm-hmm.
and when I asked that office to do that for me, they said yes, but they were terrified because they could get in big trouble for doing that.
Yeah.
So they went ahead and did it, but it's really tiny.
All right.
And I said, well, I want it bigger. And they said, well, that's. So I said, okay, if tiny is fine. It's in there. That's the main thing. I want to leave something behind for my son and for all the fans. To dedicate this to all the fans who actually bought our toys, because it's the fans who made us. We need all the customers we can get because we were such a small company. Mm-hmm. And what we lacked in size in terms of revenue or compared to like a Mattel or Hasbro, we made up in heart and effort, and hopefully creativity.
And creativity, I was going to add that too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and speed, because we were able to get things done a lot faster because we were so small. So that was a huge advantage as well. And
less red tape.
Yeah, less red tape. And I know that as the company started growing, red tape started to filter in a little bit. But overall, I still think that was a lot more efficient than a lot of the larger companies that had just piles of red tape. So despite the fact that we started getting some red tape, we were still pretty efficient, and I really appreciate that.
How was it working with Lucasfilm? Because I imagine they would need to sign off on some of this stuff. And you said you met them every Friday. Were they a great partner? Did they have a lot of changes?
They were a wonderful partner, and we worked with Stacy up there, and we would bring our concept drawings up there.
Yeah. To
tell them, we're thinking about doing this toy that does this and this is that and this and that, and they would look at it and give suggestions. But for the most part, they knew we were experts in that field already, designing toys, because there's always a balance between what you want to put in and the cost of the toy. You want to put a lot of stuff in, but the toy might be $80,
Yeah.
And that's not the budget that people have. So it was wonderful working with them. It was easy working with them. I enjoy going up there, and I had absolutely no problems working together with them, and none of us did. The drive every Friday, it was a 10 o'clock meeting. I think it was 10. And so we'll go up there, and sometimes it was me and Tony Mondini or Anthony Yao, or whoever. And sometimes we even had an intern with us from Japan. His name was Noriaki Sumon. And it was great because he loves Star Wars. And, this is the first time to America kind of a thing. And so one time I took him up there and it was like, yeah.
His mind was blown.
It was absolutely. It was like, you're going to, the castle, it was just fantastic because a lot of people will never have the chance to go up there to look around or even be there. But I was able to, bring him in for a meeting and that was a lot of fun, especially watching him enjoy the environment so much. So it was just great. So there was no problems working on Lucasfilm and I miss those people.
Yeah.
I miss Galoob.
Yeah, I do too. Before we move to Action Fleet, Glenn had a question about Micro Machines that he wanted to ask real quick.
So on the Death Star playset, the Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru Easter egg, whose idea was that?
Okay, I did not work on the particular project.
Okay. Well, never mind then.
Yeah,
it's the only toy to feature the burnt skeletons of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
And we've heard, people have talked about that, and it's like, who would do that to a kid's toy?
It's interesting you say that because going back to my meetings up at the ranch, I had wanted to do an AT-AT that opened up.
Jason, he said it right. He said it right.
I see AT-AT. He says AT-AT. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Walker. But I said to the Stacy up there, I said, how do you go to the bathroom up there? I mean, so I had, there were two things. I wanted to put a bathroom with a toilet and the toilet paper on the water tank. and she was kind of hesitant on that. And she said, well, there's no such thing as, they never show that kind of stuff in the Star Wars universe. And she this is a true story. And she goes, if you can find any reference that has bathrooms in Star Wars, we can put it in. So I went and looked, and I had Anthony Yao, the guy I work with. I go, Anthony, we got to find something. And we found a video game that had stormtroopers at the urinal. So I brought that up there, but they still wouldn't let me do it.
Oh.
But the model that was made had the bathroom and the toilet paper on the water tank, and I was ready to go gangbusters on that because what I wanted to do was to put like graffiti on the wall, in the bathroom wall, the whole 9 yards.
For a good time, call TK512 or something like that.
So I didn't get my way with that. Okay, fine. So we were doing this play sets. It never materialized. I mean, we never made it, but only in concept. And I wanted to do the cantina scene, but everybody's drinking in there. They really got to use a bathroom. So but then there are these different aliens. So maybe it's anatomically different, and the bathrooms will not look like human bathrooms, but it should resemble it. So what we wanted to do was sort of put a human-ish bathroom in there, but without saying this is a real human bathroom. That way we can kind of go under the radar. But that didn't work out. So,
wow. That's
so
funny.
we're always trying to do crazy things.
So you had this successful line with Star Wars and Micro Machines. Why pivot to Action Fleet? Where did the idea for Action Fleet come along?
I don't even know where the idea came from.
Okay.
I believe it was either Gary Niles or Jeff Cleary. I don't know. All I know is that we sort of hit the ceiling with Micro Machines because you're limited in size of what you can do. I mean, your place that's going to be so big, and your price points, your retail price point can only be so big. You want more details, you have to go bigger. And I think it was a really clever idea, whoever it was, to go just a little bit larger, so that it's not the size of a quarter anymore, but
Right.
now it's something like this size, which was a perfect size for additional revenue, of course,
Yeah.
but additional details, additional play features that we could not implement on such a small scale.
Right.
And I think I sent you a photograph of the presentation box that was made for Lucasfilm.
Let me share my screen here. So this right here is the Imperial shuttle.
Right. And yeah, that was the presentation box that we created. And
There's
whole
the full
box.
screen.
Right, that's it. The whole box was created and to present to Lucasfilm and saying, this is what we have. This is our idea in terms of size, and this is what it will look like. And thankfully, we were able to do it, because this size is still considered a micro machine size. It's not the Hasbro size, because I think every toy company has their own slice of the pie.
Yeah.
And this was still within, this was not intruding into other people's territory.
Okay.
So we were able to do it in this size, and which opened up a lot of opportunities. And it was a fun size to work on. And in fact, some of these models were built by us in-house, and a few were built by some folks at ILM.
Oh, wow.
They were doing it outside.
It's like a third party.
Yeah, third party. They were just doing it on their own the weekend or something like that.
Gotcha.
So that was really cool.
So it's pretty authentic.
Yeah. It certainly is. And I believe I'm pretty sure the Sandcrawler was built by John Goodson.
Right there.
Same with the AT-AT or the Walker or
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing gag between Glenn and I.
I see. In fact, I believe it's still here.
Oh, let me stop
sharing.
See? Hold on. Let me stop sharing so we can make that bigger. Oh, there it is.
I don't know if you can see it.
You might have to put it in front of your face. Yeah, okay.
There you go. Wow.
And that's the one from the photo?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Did you make that one?
Oh, no. This is not from a photo.
Oh.
This is the other one that was also made.
Okay.
In my collection.
Gotcha.
The one in the photo is still in the box somewhere.
Well, I'm glad it didn't get destroyed, because that was one thing that happened at Kenner when Hasbro bought them. A lot of that stuff just ended up in trash bins, and I'm glad to hear that some of that prototype, if you will, stuff you still have, and that it didn't get destroyed.
Yeah, a lot of things. When we were shut down, we had to give up a lot of things, and a lot of things. I wish I had all my control drawings. I don't. Those are the drawings I did for the play sets for R2, C-3PO, Vader, Stormtrooper, and whatnot. I have like a old blueprint of it, but it's not the original.
Yeah.
They were beautifully drawn. I really I really put a lot of effort in those drawings, because I just love the subject matter. And it's really a shame that I no longer have them. They're probably landfilled by now, obviously. But it is what it is, and at least I have something.
So you had mentioned Ralph McQuarrie. He did a lot of art for Action Fleet. So did that come out of your relationship with him, and were you guiding him as to what you wanted for like the box art?
I recall one of the meetings up the ranch, I had mentioned to the licensing people, we're doing this stuff. It'll be so cool. We did this, play set, and we could have Ralph painted. It adds so much more authenticity.
Yeah.
And they kind of, okay, but ultimately, we did use him. I did not guide him. That's the packaging group at Galoob. But it was so fun to see him. I mean, I go to the house and see the work, but it was just so fun to see him, painting a Star Wars scene. It's just like this is the coolest thing. It's even though he was out of Star Wars by that time, after the 3 movies, but it was just amazing, and he was so easy to work with. I know that the packaging group would give him art directions. Say, well, we need to change to this angle because we have a box art here, the window here, and and no problem.
He was able to
adjust, no problem. It looks fantastic even after adjusting. Lower this, change that, easy.
Yeah.
And I do know that we had some prints made of his.
Yep.
Yeah, and they were given out at Toy Fair in New York, because I know that he went to Toy Fair for Galoob, and he sat there. He signs the prints and handed it up to visitors. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But Ralph did say it was very cold. It was snowing. It's always snowing during Toy Fair.
Yeah, because it's what, February usually.
Yeah. It's all the worst time, But still, I mean, I know he had a blast, and we were all like trying to get as many prints as we can for ourselves.
Of course.
Yeah.
One question I've always wanted to know, and maybe you're not the right person to ask, but I'm just curious about the process of making Micro Machines. Like, from concept to completion, what was the process? Was there a sculptor involved? Did they do like a 2-up and then they shrunk it down during the process?
Yes, they would have to. Well, the process starts with what we call a control drawing, and again, this is before CAD. Back then, we didn't have it. We certainly couldn't afford it. It's basically you draw on vellum, how big you want this thing to be. I know that sometimes we were just overwhelmed with so much work. We'll farm out the work to other people, and they will draw it for us, and we'll take the vellum and we'll send it to our office in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong office was called Galco.
Yep.
And in fact, I still stay in touch with a couple of guys from Galco, today.
Wow.
Even today, maybe I email them once every couple of weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they themselves are not a sculpting house or anything like that. They're just the facilitators. They will contract. They will find the sculptors for us.
Oh, okay.
And they will have the sculptor and the model makers over there make these models for us. And to make a Micro Machine is pretty straightforward. They'll do a pattern, maybe 2-up or 3-up, and they'll shrink it down. And in fact, I wish I had one here. I know I have one in the house somewhere, but not in front of me. But yeah, so tooling will be cut based on the approval. We'll get the model from Hong Kong and say, Jim, this is what it looks like. Oh, okay, fine. And tooling will be cut, and test shots will be made from the tooling. And this is where they inject whatever they can into the cavity. It could be red plastic, green plastic, different colors of plastic. It comes out all swirly. But it's all about just testing to see what it looks like and see how it fits. And those parts will be sent to us. Say, so this is how, in the case of Micro Machine, nothing really moves. But in the case of Action Fleet, we'll have the different parts where we could, open up the doors or test the landing gear and whatnot.
Yeah.
And once that is approved, they'll send us samples with color.
Paint samples?
Painted
samples?
But I'm jumping ahead because they will send us, for Action Fleet, they will send us a model first, already painted.
Okay.
Yeah. And then once that's approved, we'll go into cutting the steel, and then they'll inject plastic into it.
Yeah.
In which case, I don't know if I have any. In which case, I don't. I think I sent you.
I have photos here. Let
Yeah,
me share my screen again.
I think I sent you a dewback.
Yes, I have it right here.
Okay, so that is a test sample of a dewback that no, we did not make. And the reason why we did not make this product is because after we cut the steel and did the test shot like what you have here, we had to change the design, because the special edition came out and the dewback looked different.
Oh, okay. The tail's longer in the production version.
This dewback was best guess.
Okay, I see.
Because we never saw the rest of it. But the special edition dewback, you see him walking. And that's where we got the rest of the design. So this dewback was our attempt to anticipate, what did the rest of the animal look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in any case, this is a test shot, unpainted, and if this is approved, then we will go into a pre-production in which they'll send us this creature all painted, so it has a proper paint, and then we will take that up to the ranch and we'll present it. And we might make changes like, the tan color is off. It should be this tan color, or it should be more gray. It should be more brown, or whatever. And then we will let our Hong Kong office know that. And even when we go into production, sometimes it's still off. And when we go into production, we'll go back up to the ranch and say, okay, here it is with the packaging. This is what you see in the store. And then we'll open it and say, well, it needs more blue here, or it needs more green there. And at that point, we'll make a running change. That means this stuff is already produced, being produced, but we'll make the changes in the production. So there will be variations between the first generation and the later generation, because things just change, and sometimes we have to hit deadlines.
Yeah,
we cannot stop and then make changes. We just have to make the changes during production.
I have a couple of those variants, like the Imperial Shuttle. Not only does the canopy have a different hinge, but some of them are dirty and some of them are clean. Yep.
Yeah.
They've got like streak marks on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So a lot of things, each one's slightly different. I mean, it's never going to be exactly the same. But the main thing is, we do it the best we can to our abilities, and make sure that Lucasfilm approves what we're doing.
Let's we've got just for a couple more minutes. Let's go through these photos real quick that you were able to send over. So this is the dewback. The next one is this AT-AT.
Yeah. The AT-AT, Walker, whatever. Yeah, that was a concept in which we were thinking about, this could be a cool radio control device, maybe, or just a massive play set. Again, we do a lot of these concepts that we kind of know is never gonna go into production.
Okay.
But we do it anyway, because you just have to push the envelope just to see.
Yeah, because it seemed like it was more in scale with the snow speeder from Action Fleet, so I wasn't sure if this was an attempt to try to do something in scale, but it's also close to.
It was, but again, we knew this would never fly. But I suppose it's kind of like a lot of the car companies when they have auto shows. They come out with these cool looking cars, and knowing that these are just concepts, but it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What could have been.
What could have been, and the oh yeah, that this was from a Joe Johnston
Sketch.
concept sketch, and what happens is after you've done your X-wing, your Y-wing, your Falcon, all the usual suspects, then you start looking for what else can we do, and this was something that we had considered, but we built this sample, but it never went into production.
It's pretty awesome. So it's some sort of like troop transport carrier. It's like the mix of an ATST and an AT-AT kind of merged together, and it's all in orange plastic with some clear. If it went into production, would the back still be clear? Was that the intent? So you could see
the back would not be clear.
No, okay.
No, I think the idea is that we might have a clear window. So but yeah, the back was not going to be clear.
That's pretty awesome. I've never seen it in toy form before. I remember the sketch from Joe Johnston, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then here you are with Doug Chang looking at the Royal Starship. What was that time like? Because you were getting access to Episode 1 stuff, and Star Wars was returning. Talk a little bit about that real quick.
That was a very fun and exhausting time for us, because we were all excited that Star Wars is awake, coming back, and we have an opportunity to work on Episode 1, and it was but also we had to come up with a lot of toys, and it was everybody, everybody work, and to get the stuff out, and we had deadlines, of course, and it was exciting for us, but it was exhausting as well. I know that the guys were really tired, but we just kept going because we loved the property. And there we are in front of the 500 Forbes, as you can see, the 500 back there, which, by the way, is now a biotech company. That building is all gone. It's torn down, and in this place is a big, brand new biotech firm. There's Doug, there's Bob, Arthur, Doug, Henry, Anthony, and Rod Wong. So yeah, all of us worked really hard to get the products out. And I don't know where Tony Mondini is. He should be in there as well. But yeah, so we're basically presenting Doug with some of our ideas and concepts, and it was great for him to come down and check out what we have in mind, and give us advice on what we should do, and because he has a lot of inside information that we still didn't have. But yeah, there's Bob. Yeah.
So at this point, you only saw concept drawings. You didn't know any of the plot points of the movie.
We knew the plot points.
Oh, okay.
We already knew the plot points, but some things were being changed as well. When we all went up to the ranch to read the script. They put us in the room, and honestly, it was a tough read because we're not used to reading scripts.
Yeah.
It's certainly different from reading a novel or a book. Reading a script, it has dialogue and people entering from this. No, it's just different. So it was, but we were able to get the essence of it, so that we can have a flavor of what the movie's about. And then we went upstairs where Doug's office was, and they had all the little, sculptures and models and whatnot. So we saw all that. So that way we can tie everything together, so it made sense. Yeah. Because otherwise it's just a bunch of,
It's just concepts. It's in your head. Concepts. It's nothing in reality, really.
Yeah. We just have to tie everything together. So once we have understanding of that, we could cohesively design our toys and play sets in accordance so that it makes sense. Because otherwise it's just bits and pieces of information. But yeah, that was great that he visited. And in fact, I'll probably see him this summer. We'll probably have lunch or something like that.
Tell him I said hi.
I certainly will.
One little detail that we picked up in this photo, so the door has a bolt on it. There's a lot of safes in this room. So were you tooling things and then putting it in safe for the night so no one could touch it, and then you would open it up in the morning and tool it again or play with it?
the design room itself, as you can see in the gray door back there,
Yeah.
is locked. Even before Star Wars,
Okay.
a design room was in its own separate little wing.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of IP in there that shouldn't leave that that room.
Yeah.
And when we got Star Wars, security is even tighter.
Yeah.
There were people. I mean, prior to Star Wars, there were other designers in there who were designing other things, not part of Star Wars, not Star Wars products, but they had to exit the room. They had to move their office outside because the contract, the stipulation was that we had to have a very secure room, and only Star Wars people could be in that room. It was kind of sad to see some of our coworkers, other designers, leave that room to go outside. But that was part of the contract. So we had to, put safes inside the design room with locks. Okay. And you can see that, next to the gray door, there's a black safe. So everything had to be moved into the safe at nighttime.
Yep.
Security was a priority, and we didn't want people breaking in. Not that they would, maybe, who knows. We didn't want people from, like finance or whatever, stumbling in and seeing all the stuff. So it was design only, design and model makers. So everything has to be locked up for the night. And then in the morning we come in, you can open it up and take out your stuff and, design your toys. So yeah, it was, security was a priority during that time.
Here you are looking at, and you have another photo of this, of an unproduced Action Fleet Jabba's Palace playset.
That's right. That is an unproduced playset. And again, we come up with a lot of ideas and concepts and whatnot, but they never go beyond maybe a foam core model and whatnot. And the person hiding his face, I think that's Mark from the model shop. And here we're going over some of the play features and telling them, well, this has to be here, that has to be there, change this and change that. But Mark did not want to be photographed, so
so he's got the photo, the paper in front of his face.
He got a paper cover his face.
Let me skip. Oh shoot, where was it? I thought there was another photo of that playset. But anyways, here you are again with Doug Chang and the team.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of models in the ceiling.
Yeah,
there's a Klingon ship there too.
I think none of us actually counted how many models we had in the ceiling because it was too difficult to count. But we love models. We, as industrial designers, we like to build things, and we appreciate technology and airplanes and jets and whatnot. So yes, and we had access to all kinds of model kits, and we just build them and hang them in the ceiling for atmosphere. Yeah, and yeah, it was a great room, and anybody who would wander in there, they were like, "Wow, that's a lot of models."
It's probably overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, and we're lucky that the ceiling didn't collapse. But
yeah.
But yeah, and here I am presenting the ideas to Doug, and it was a special time.
So here's a photo of the Royal Guard helmet used from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
you have a story about that?
We were not supposed to do that, and when that's my car. That what
Starfleet Academy on the back.
Yeah, I got a story about that too. Up at the ranch with that car, but so in order for us to really understand what these shapes look like, we wanted to see and touch these models. So we had asked that, can we borrow these for a limited time so we can actually see the design and see where all the details are so we can apply it to our play sets. They said sure, and no, there was a lot of insurance on it as well, believe me. But of course, what do you do when you get all that stuff, right?
Hey, you gotta put it on. You gotta put it on.
You gotta
blame you
on. Exactly. So that's me. And Oh, actually, I shouldn't say that. That's someone else. I didn't do that.
I
Right.
have no clue who that is.
Yeah, I have no clue who that is. It's not
Because
me.
you're the one taking the photo.
Yeah, exactly. So, so we all had fun with it. And no, I mean, I know that these are very valuable. We all know that, and we took very good care of it, and we did not let it go. Put our greasy hamburger fingers on it,
Yeah.
and everything is. We returned it in the exact same shape that we borrowed it from, which was mint condition. So, and what's interesting about this, I'm not sure. I think my teacher built this. I'm not sure, but I think he did. My teacher from San Jose State, Pete Ronzani, he was up there helping the model shop produce props and whatnot, and I think he helped build this.
Wow.
Yeah,
Small world.
small world. And and the car.
Yeah.
My
Starfleet.
car had the Starfleet Academy sticker on the rear windshield, and we were coming back from IOM, going back to the ranch, because we went to IOM to look at the models that were being made. All of us did, and one of the guys from the ranch in the car behind me, several cars behind me, had radioed the security guard and said to them, "Hey, don't let the guy in. He's got a he's got a Starfleet Academy sticker on his car."
Yeah.
But security guard goes, "I can't do that." but so let me in anyway.
That's awesome.
Uh,
So here's another
yeah,
photo.
that's Bob Bertasani and Marcus. Bob's on the right. Mark's on the left. Mark's in the model shop. Bob's is part of the design crew. So we were just looking at some of the concept drawings, and you can see Bob was in the model shop.
Yep.
Working on stuff.
There's a Wired magazine with George Lucas's face on it too.
Yeah, there is. That's right.
Yep.
I don't know if that was posed or if we were actually working on a project. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, but you can see all the drafting tables. Yep. We all worked on drafting tables. Old school.
These are the pitch boards for Action Fleet. And so this was really cool to see. This is the Darth Vader transforming playset, but all the detail is kind of it's not carved in yet. This is very geometric almost.
Right. Yeah. And when I designed this the playset here, I had some problems with the shape of his mask, because it was a little bit complicated. I wasn't sure how much I could fit in, so I asked Jeff Brewer to make this for me in the model shop. Then that way I can get a sense of the scale, how much space I have to work with. When I open up, where are the pinch points and whatnot, because his face is quite complicated actually, with all the little ridges and details. So this was very helpful for me to sort of plot out where all the features were going to be.
So this is basically the first prototype of any of the playsets? Yeah,
this is the very first, even before Hong Kong, because as I'm drawing it, I'm doing a sketch of it. So I normally when I design a toy, I do a playset. I do little thumbnail sketches, and they're only about 3 inches by 3 inches, 4 inches by 4 inches. I'm just kind of playing around, doodling to see how everything goes. But you can only go so far sometimes. And so when Jeff built this for me, I said, "Oh yes, this is perfect. Now I can really get a sense of the size, where the play features can go, how much room I have, how this mechanism is going to work, all those kind of things." So yeah, it was really helpful to have this. And you don't need it for every playset, but this one I needed it because of the complicated mask that in the front.
Yeah, you need to get your footing basically.
Yeah, and I just got to get it so that I'm not off.
And I like how the hinge is just tape. I mean, that's how early it was.
Yeah, that's old school.
Yeah. Oh, so this is the other side of the Jabba's play set, the unproduced action fleet piece.
That's right.
And so the instead of like a trapdoor, I guess that was just hinged, so you could pull that aside and you could play with the Rancor underneath. Was that the idea at the time? Do you remember?
I don't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah.
I don't recall. But I think the white plate on the left, obviously was a floor, so you can put the other, And I think if we will have to continue on this, I would have put the trap door on that white plate, so that you can actually have the figures fall through, and then swing open the swing the floorway so you have access to playing with the Rancor.
Okay.
So there's a lot of fun stuff that can be done with it. And as you can see on the right hand side, there's the white detail there. That would have been where the I think Luke was trying to escape a door or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so this was still, I would say this here is only about 40 to 50%.
Okay.
We would have liked to kept going and flesh it out and finish it, so that we have all the play features that were we can use from the movie. Right now, it's just kind of a raw physical piece.
Yeah.
For scale.
And then you had these cards. So these cards, I think, were going to be like kind of like Power of the Force. They offered coins. These would be like business card size, and they would have the vehicles on it.
Right. What I had towards the end of Galoob, what I wanted to do was I love toys, but I also love models. And when I say models, I'm referring to models that are built for the movies. And what I had wanted to do was my proposal was to create these action fleet vehicles that were very detailed, not just toy detail, but really detailed, really special, with a lot of decoration, a lot of weathering. So it's as if you were buying a miniature IOM model. And I also wanted to offer, like a trading card, but I didn't want paper. Like I wanted these cards to be special.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of, making them out of metal. So instead of just, okay, here's like a baseball card kind of a thing, which everybody has, but I wanted this stuff to be different, unique, highly sought after, and frankly expensive.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we, at that point, the company Galoob wasn't, going to be around much longer, and so that project never took off, which is unfortunate. I would have liked to have another few years so that we could actually try something like this to see if we could make collectibles and not toys.
Yeah. That would have really put you in a different category too, a new revenue stream.
Well, yeah,
like a gentle giant.
Exactly. And I think if this was a successful line, it would have opened doors to a lot of different things. And like you said, it could be a new revenue stream that we never thought of, but we will never know.
Right. Unfortunately,
but no, that's how it is, right? That's showbiz.
So I guess to wrap this up, one last question. We had briefly talked about your photo in the Yavin 4 playset. How did that come about? Because it's great to see Rebel Leader Fong out there.
Well, I think Brian Galassa was the one who did the graphics for that. I can't recall if he did the playset or not.
Yeah.
But I said to, and of course I don't call him Brian, I call him Brain. And I said to him, "Hey, you know what? I would like to have my face in there," and it was simple as that. And so he put it in. And honestly, I never even looked in afterwards.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
never. Yeah, I think I saw it maybe once or twice, and that's it. And
okay.
and never again. But yeah, so I did that, and
It's
you
fun.
know it's fun. It's not kosher perhaps, but I think all the people that I work with at Galoob, the design people, the packaging people, the finance, everybody, they were all wonderful people. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely every one of them. We had a lot of different people come through the door. The design, this person will leave to another company, or another new designer will come in. But what was great about it was that everybody was so wonderful, so talented, so crazy, and because we were such a small company, we didn't follow the corporate methods like an IBM or
Yeah.
even a Hasbro maybe, or a Mattel. We like to just like push the envelope, and I think working at Galoob with all these creative, super creative people, and we all fed off each other. So we did all kinds of zany things. And whenever there was a chance for to do something goofy and zany, let's do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly.
So we were we were quite willing to try out these different things that were not normally practiced in the toy business.
Yeah. Well,
Is it,
oh, go ahead.
before we go, is that the way that the George Lucas minifigure came out in the TIE Fighter?
Yeah, the Entertainment Weekly. Do you see that article from
I,
Entertainment Weekly?
I don't think so.
Okay, they had contacted me. This is when the magazine was still, published. They had contacted me about that figure, and in fact, I still have that magazine. I'll have to scan it and send it to you. But what happened was we wanted George Lucas to be in there, but and I said in the article, he came out looking like Sylvester in Cobra.
I can see that now. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you're talking about
It's
something
very
this
small.
big, and it's so hard to get that likeness in such a small scale. But we tried, but it came out like, hey, just Sylvester Stallone.
If you know, you know. It's George
Yeah,
Lucas.
yeah, yeah. If you know, you know.
Well, thank you for your time, first of all.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you giving us an hour of your time to talk about toy making at Galoob. As you can see, I'm a big fan. My brother and I, we loved Micro Machines. We loved, and when Star Wars came along with Micro Machines, it just blew our mind because it was like, oh, this Micro Machines were made for us, but now they're really directing their attention at us because Star Wars Micro Machines is really speaking to us. So you really gave us great time together, my brother and I, and I just wanted to thank you for
Well, thank you. No,
yeah.
thank you. Thank all of the fans who supported all of us, and I also thank all the designers who I work with because we all fed off each other. Some people think, oh, this is a Jim Fong show. It's not. Everybody was involved, and everybody we all had great fun doing it, and we sometimes when we got together, we all say, if the company was still there, we'll all still be there because it was that fun, and it was a magical time for me to work there, and I was there at the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, doing this right project because that's the stuff I enjoy.
Yeah, it was fate.
Fate, that's what it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. We really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, Jason, do you need to go change your pants?
I am on cloud nine right now. There's so much endorphins in my body. I've never been happier in my life. That was like a dream come true. And I had mentioned this did I mention at the start of the recording or before we started recording? I can't remember.
I don't know. It was sort of a blur when we were recording and when we weren't recording.
But I knew the power of a podcast, and you could talk to the people that made the toy lines that you loved. And one of the things I've always wanted to do is reach out to someone at Galoob and talk to someone who was involved with Star Wars Micro Machines. And doing my research, Jim Fong kept coming up because he worked on the Star Wars line. He worked on the Star Trek Next Generation, which we didn't even get into, but he did visit the set and was able to see stuff from there. But I really wanted to talk to someone about the development of the line because I mean it's a great line and it's something that meant a lot to my brother and I. So I'm
I
on
mean,
cloud nine.
there's when I think of you, it's Micro Machines. So I mean, you're definitely you're linked to Micro Machines or Micro
Right.
Collection or that line is Micro Machines, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You're right.
We just spent an hour talking to the guy and I still can't
Yes.
get it right.
But yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And if you're listening to us on the radio right now, I highly recommend you go over to YouTube and at least fast forward to the part where we show the photos off because that's really worth the view just to see what we're talking about and to see those vehicles. I didn't know that he knew Ralph McQuarrie. I didn't know he saw Star Wars beforehand. Those were amazing stories, and he's friends with Doug Chang. And I knew they were colleagues at one point because obviously he was in the photos, but I didn't realize the relationship still continued today. So I don't know. It was just an amazing podcast, amazing episode. It was an honor to talk to Jim. I can't thank him enough for his time today. Yeah, Cloud Nine.
Yeah. Are you good enough? Can you do the closing statement?
Oh yeah, let me
Thank you gotta find it.
No, I'll do it. Thank you for listening to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. If you could please leave a like and a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen to our podcast. It really helps us out and points people to our show. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback. We love to make you part of the show. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Alfonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the music. People, collect for the lab. Collect for the lab. Collect for the love of it. Hashtag vote with your wallet. Sabine will be on next week. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. This is the way.
This is the way.